Before a single shot was fired on the Eastern Front, soldiers of the Second World War faced an adversary that appeared in no military briefing and wore no uniform. Cold, bone-deep, relentless, merciless cold. And in that frozen crucible, ordinary men discovered extraordinary ingenuity, crafting solutions from almost nothing that history has largely forgotten. Today, on Fieldcraft Chronicles, we pull back the frost-covered curtain on one of the war's most quietly remarkable stories, the double-layered mitten and the forgotten human warmth it was designed to protect. This is not just a story about gloves. It is a story about love, survival, and the fierce refusal to surrender to the elements. Picture the Eastern Front in the winter of 1941, minus 30 degrees Celsius. A soldier exhales and watches his breath crystallize instantly. His rifle bolt is frozen solid, and his hands, the tools upon which his entire survival depends, are wrapped in whatever wool or canvas scraps he could scavenge. It was within this desperate, sensory-assaulting environment, the shriek of wind across open steppe, the smell of damp wool and pine smoke, that craftspeople began engineering layered hand protection beyond anything standard issue could offer. A snug wool inner liner fitted inside a rugged outer shell of treated canvas or horsehide leather created a microclimate around the hand that modern gear brands now sell at premium prices, but wartime necessity invented through desperation alone. Across Britain, Canada, and the Soviet Union, civilian knitting circles produced millions of garments for soldiers enduring unimaginable conditions. Among Scandinavian and Finnish communities, where knitting was deeply embedded in courtship tradition, mittens were sometimes crafted intentionally oversized, large enough for two hands to share one outer shell while each retained a fitted inner liner. No general ordered it. No quartermaster catalogued it. It emerged from a culture where physical warmth and emotional warmth were inseparable, where a woman knitting mittens for a soldier she loved would make them large enough to imagine holding his hand across thousands of frozen miles. For the modern bushcrafter, the layering principle in these mittens is a masterclass. Dead air insulates, moisture kills, dexterity must be preserved alongside warmth. The double-layered system solved all three simultaneously using materials that could be repaired or replaced entirely in the field. A damp liner could be removed, dried against the body, and reinserted within minutes. Modularity that predated Gore-Tex and Thinsulate by decades. Soldiers who understood this survived. Those relying on a single glove that froze, wet-faced, irreversible frostbite. Field medics on the Eastern Front reported amputating blackened fingers from men who simply had no dry layer to replace. The humble hand-stitched mitten was often the difference between a soldier returning home whole or not at all. The war ended, the knitting circles disbanded, and the double-layered mitten faded from memory. But the principle never died. It lives in every layered glove system sold today, in the muscle memory of anyone who has ever pulled a damp inner glove free in the field and tucked it against their chest to dry. Warmth is not passive. It must be actively constructed and protected. When you face the cold on a winter hike or a genuine survival situation, you are drawing on the same wisdom that kept soldiers alive through the worst conflict in human history. That is a legacy worth carrying. If this episode has added something real to your understanding of history and survival, then Fieldcraft Chronicles is exactly where you belong. Subscribe for more deep dive explorations of forgotten fieldcraft and timeless survival knowledge. Share this video with someone who values history, self-reliance, and the stories that never made the textbooks, because these stories matter, and the people who tell them keep the knowledge alive.